Hello and welcome to this YouTube channel. Today, we would like to talk about 10 important places in Ghana that I feel a lot of you should know. These places have remained significant in the lives of not only Ghanaians, but Black people in the diaspora. These places are some of the landmarks, features, and towns and cities that over the last few centuries have played important roles in shaping not just the past, but present Ghana and even the future to come. So, without wasting much time, we'd get into it. The first on the list to be discussed is Takrawday. Now, according to World War II records in June 1940, when France fell to the German invasion, Italy seized the moment to attack British positions in Egypt, Kenya, and Sudan. By the end of March 1941, German Major General Erwin Rommel's merchandise troops had driven the British out of Libya and back into Egypt. In late spring, German and Italian aircrafts were smashing Britain's sea stations in the Mediterranean, making it difficult, if not impossible, for supply ships to reach British forces in the Middle East. The remaining sea route by which to deliver supplies to Egypt was via Africa's Cape of Good Hope, but that was an awfully long journey of 3 to 4 months, a luxury of time that Britain simply did not have. In desperation, the then Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, and his military advisors turned to an underdeveloped 3,700-mile air route from an obscure destination in the British colony of the Gold Coast to Cairo, Egypt, as the starting point of the Allied Trans-African supply line to Egypt that became officially known as the West African Reinforcement Route. Takrawday became one of the most important bases for Britain's Royal Air Force. On September 5, 1940, the first shipment of a dozen Hurricane and Blenheim aircraft fighters in large wooden crates arrived at Takrawday by boat from the United Kingdom, and like many more consignments to come, they were unpacked and then assembled locally to be made airworthy for the flight to Cairo. The 6-day journey was undertaken in stages with several rest and refueling stops that included Nigeria, Sudan, and Egypt. The first delivery flight to Cairo left Takrawday on September 20, 1940, like the flights that were to follow. It was a perilous journey plagued by problems. In the Sahara Desert portion of the route, sand took a severe toll on the aircraft engines. There was no map of the route, and many pilots used ominously burned out aircraft on the ground as their guide. In spite of these challenges, between August 1940 and June 1943, over 4,500 British Blenheims, Hurricanes, and Spitfires were assembled at Takrawday and ferried to the Middle East. Between January 1942 and the end of the operation in October 1944, 2,200 Baltimores, Dakotas, and Hudsons had arrived from the United States via the American base in Brazil and the mid-Atlantic stop on Ascension Island, and virtually all of them were ferried in a similar fashion. There were other final destinations via the Takrawday route, including India. African kings like the Asantehene of the Gold Coast became an indispensable resource in this effort because they were able to mobilize their subjects for all manner of projects, whether it was to join the Imperial Army, help assemble hurricanes, or construct airfields, harbors, and roads. In the first few years of the war, the Royal Air Force recruited 10,000 West Africans for ground duties in the British West African colonies of the Gold Coast, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. Beyond that, West African soldiers went to the battlefront itself. The 4th Gold Coast Infantry Brigade, which later became the 2nd West African Infantry Brigade, contributed 65,000 men to the 1944 Battle of Navrongo, which drove the Japanese out of Burma. Today, in testament to that history, there is a military barracks there in Takrawday known as Navrongo Barracks Takrawday can be found in the western region of Ghana. The second place we'd discuss today is the city of Tema. Now, Tema is a city on the bight of Benin and the Atlantic coast of Ghana. It is located some 25 kilometers east of Ghana's capital city, Accra, in the region of Greater Accra, and is also the capital of Tema Metropolitan District. It is the 11th most populous settlement in Ghana. The city was commissioned by Ghana's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, and grew rapidly after the construction of a large harbour in 1961. The Tema metropolis was designed, planned and developed by the award-winning urban planner and Ghana's first architect by name, Theodore S. Clerk. It is now a major trading center, home to an oil refinery and numerous factories, and is linked to Accra by a highway and railway. Tema is one of Ghana's 2 deep seaports. An important landmark which this city is known for is the Greenwich Meridian, or 00 longitude, which passes directly through Tema. The prime meridian, or what is popularly known as the Greenwich Meridian, is a geographical reference line that passes through the Royal Observatory, Greenwich, in London, England. It was first established by Sir George Airy in 1851, and by 1884, over 2/3 of all ships and deep-sea tonnage used it as the reference meridian on their charts and maps. In Tema, the Meridian landmark is located in the sea just a few meters from the coast on the western side of Tema Harbour. Cape Coast. Cape Coast is a city, fishing port, and the capital of Cape Coast Metropolitan District and Central Region of Ghana. Cabo Corso, meaning Short Cape in Portuguese, was later corrupted to English to be known as Cape Coast. It is one of Ghana's most historic cities, a World Heritage Site, home to the Cape Coast Castle, with the Gulf of Guinea situated to its south. The language of the people of Cape Coast is Fanti. The older traditional names of the city are Ogwa and Kotukraba, meaning River of Crabs or Village of Crabs. The Portuguese navigators João de Santarém and Pedro Escobar, who sailed past Ogwa in 1471, designated the place Cabo Corso, from which the name Cape Coast derives. From the 16th century until the Gold Coast became the independent nation of Ghana in 1957, the city changed hands between the British, the Portuguese, the Swedish, the Danish, and the Dutch. In Cape Coast, you will find one of the biggest slave castles till date. The underground dungeon was a space of terror, death, and darkness. This stood as a direct juxtaposition to the European living quarters and commanding heights of whiteness above, who lived relatively luxuriously. The basement of this imposing fortress was often the last memory slaves had of their homeland before being shipped off across the Atlantic, as this signified the beginning of their journey. At the time, enslaved Africans were a valuable commodity in the Americas and elsewhere. Slaves were one of the main trades in Cape Coast. Due to this, many changes were made to Cape Coast Castle. One of the alterations was the addition of large underground dungeons that could hold as many as 1,000 slaves awaiting export. Many European nations flocked to Cape Coast in order to get a foothold in the slave trade. The business was very competitive, which led to conflict for so long, and for this reason, the castle at Cape Coast changed hands many times during the course of its commercial history. Next on the list is Kumasi. Kumasi is the second largest city located in the middle belt of Ghana. One of its most important landmarks, the Okomfo Anokye sword, is situated on the grounds of the Okomfo Anokye Teaching Hospital. The 333-year-old sword wedged in the rock face is one of the center artifacts and legends of the rich history of the Asante nation. On a good day, you may run into the Asante Hene, who regularly comes to pay his respects at this important and sacred site. The sword side, as it is said, is the exact place where the golden stool of Asante Man descended onto the laps of King Osei Tutu I, the founder of the Asante nation. The site was predicted by Okomfo Anokye, a once powerful priest of the Ashanti people, to be a healing place for millions. One fascinating story about the sword is that since it was planted in 1695, countless number of attempts had been made to remove it from the ground, but to no avail. The immovable sword driven into the ground by the chief priest remains in its same place till date. It is believed Okomfo Anokye pronounced that no one would be able to remove the sword, and so it has remained in spite of several attempts over the decades. The Ashanti state is believed would collapse should the sword ever be pulled out of the ground. Next on the list is Nzulezu, perhaps the most iconic town ever in the Jumur district of the western region of Ghana, is the village entirely built on stilts. Nzulezu was built over Lake Tandanae and is consisted of seamlessly integrated wooden stilts. This town is amazingly built on top of the water. The local people say it was built by people from Walata, a town in the ancient Ghana Empire found in present-day Mauritania, which came about from following a snail. The reason Nzulezu was built over water was for protection and safety during attacks in times of war, since it lies 5 miles inward of southwest shores. The main activity of its inhabitants is agriculture, and while fishery plays a secondary role, the lake is perceived by the local population to protect against certain risks such as fire. This site was added to the UNESCO World Heritage List on January 17, 2000 in the cultural category. The village was nominated to become a World Heritage Site for its importance in anthropology. In addition to being one of the few ancient settlements on stilts and platforms left in the world, there is a preserved wealth of local traditions connected with the cults of the lake. Lake Tandanae is a sacred place of many religious rites, and on Thursdays, it is considered as a day sacred to the lake, and it is forbidden to use and work on the lake for any activity throughout this day. In recent times, the village has been opened to tourism, but with certain constraints, visitations are allowed only once a week. The village can be reached only by canoe and water raft. Next is the mystic stone of Larabanga. This stone is believed to possess healing powers. When the British authorities were constructing a road in the 1950s at Larabanga, a Muslim community in the northern region of Ghana, they found the mysterious stone on their path. The stone was therefore removed to pave way for the road to be constructed at where it lay. But the next morning, legend says that the road constructors found that the stone had returned to its original place. Shocked, the contractors moved the stone again, but it came back to its original place. This happened for 3 consecutive days, and when authorities were alerted about the mystical powers of the stone, the contractors decided to leave it and were compelled to change the direction of the road. Today, in present-day Ghana, when one moves to Larabanga, about 6 kilometers southwest of the Mole National Park and 21 kilometers away from Navrongo, the capital of the West Gonja district, you will find the stone in the exact same location that the authorities had tried to move it from. With a population of about 1,500 inhabitants, predominantly farmers, residents of Larabanga grow yam, millet, sorghum, and maize. Their elders have termed the stone as the mystic stone or the wish stone, and the sacred object is found closer to the famed Larabanga Mosque, Ghana's oldest mosque, and one of the country's revered religious sites, serving as a tourist site to many people across the world. Others also use the site as a place of worship, hoping to receive miracles, healing, childbirth, and financial freedom just by touching the stone. Next on the list is Nkroful. Nkroful is a village in the Elembele district, a district in the western region of South Ghana, located near Assin in the Izima East municipal of the western region. Nkroful is famous as the birthplace of Kwame Nkrumah. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was the first Prime Minister and President of Ghana, having led the Gold Coast to independence from Britain in 1957. An influential advocate of Pan-Africanism, Nkrumah was a founding member of the Organization of African Unity and winner of the Lenin Peace Prize from the Soviet Union in 1962. He was born in Nkroful on September 21, 1909, was raised there, and on July 9, 1972 was also buried there. After his death, Kwame Nkrumah was raised by his mother, Nyaneba, and his extended family, who lived together traditionally, with more distant relatives often visiting. He lived a carefree childhood, spent most of his childhood in the village, the bush, and on the nearby sea. By the naming customs of the Akan people, he was given the name Kwame, the name given to males born on a Saturday in the Akan naming system, though he was known as Francis Nwia Kofi Nkrumah, Kofi being the name given to males born on Friday. He later changed his name to Kwame Nkrumah in 1945 in the UK, preferring the name Kwame. Nkroful has the original Nkrumah mausoleum and monument, which continues to attract visitors today. The next is Salaga. Salaga, the administrative capital of the East Gonja district in the northern region, is one of the areas noted for the role it played during the slave trade in northern Ghana. According to information sourced from the internet, for more than 3 centuries, that is, from the 16th to the 19th centuries, Salaga was one of the most important market centers in West Africa, where they traded in everything: kola, beads, ostrich feathers, animal hide, textiles, and gold. However, from the 18th to the 19th century, Salaga became the biggest slave market where humans were sold or exchanged for cowries. The town became a well-known slave market in the sub-region. Apart from slaves, the town could also boast about other slavery monuments and relics, including the Salaga Slave Cemetery, slave warehouse, drinking wells, chains, iron shackles, and spears. The slave warehouse, for instance, is believed to have been used as a temporary place where the slaves were housed before they were transported to the coastal areas for shipment by the slave merchants. The wells, also believed to have been dug by the slaves, served as places from where the slaves drank and bathed. Salaga was one of the leading slave markets of West Africa in the 1880s. The story of the slaves, where they come from, who brought them to Salaga, who bought them, and what happened to them afterwards can be pieced together from the reports of a great variety of travelers, black and white, officials, soldiers, merchants, and missionaries of various nationalities, African and European. The town of Salaga and the remnants of the slave market exist till today in the north of Ghana and is opened to tourists and tourism. Next is Navrongo. In Navrongo, you will find this large Catholic cathedral built entirely of mud, bricks, and plastered with mud mortar. It is a thrilling mixture of European architecture and local construction techniques, and it is the last of its kind in Ghana. The building is 60 meters long and 14 meters wide, with a 13 meters high bell tower. The highest point of the pitched roof rests at approximately 7,400 millimeters, going down to approximately 5,400 millimeters at eaves level. Of the 10 columns of either side, the last 2 at each end appear to grow out from the walls, their junctions so smooth and rounded, highlighting the moldable qualities of mud. Between each pair of columns lies either a window or a door opening, except for the last 2 openings on either side, which open into the sacristy. There is a central bell tower over the entrance porch, with 2 smaller towers on each side. The floor is made of a mixture of compacted gravel, cow dung, and yam bean, or what is popularly known in northern Ghana as dawadawa. There are 2 rows of columns in the cathedral's huge interior. The roof is made of pitch corrugated iron sheets, and on the walls are an interesting mixture of Nankani Kasena imagery and Catholic symbolism created by women in the Navrongo community, beginning as far back in 1973. Navrongo is located in the Upper East region of Ghana. History has it that in April 1906, 3 missionaries, Father Cholet, Father Moraine, and Brother Eugene, arrived at the English military garrison of Navrongo to evangelize. In 1907, a first small chapel was built, followed by a larger community chapel in 1910. The cathedral itself was completed in 1920, and worshippers were able to use the building for the first time. The Navrongo parish grew in standing, becoming the mother parish in the northern part of Ghana and attaining the status of a cathedral in 1934. The building, which has undergone many structural changes, is still used for worship. Lastly is Assin Manso. Assin Manso is a town in the central region of Ghana. It is located 40 kilometers along the Cape Coast Kumasi Highway, just off the Yamansa Junction. The town is well known for the role it played as a slave market during the slave trade. Assin Manso is referenced as the Great Depot, through which slave raiders sent slaves to the coast and served as one of the largest 18th century slave markets. Here, slaves were fed and allowed to rest for several days or weeks and would later make their onward journey to the castles of Cape Coast and Elmina. The Memorial Wall of Return is where most Africans write their names on the wall, indicating they have found their roots. There is an epitaph which pays tribute to some prominent people who were involved in slavery. Captured Africans were forced to trek barefoot through the harsh bush and over rough terrain for sometimes hundreds of miles headed to the Gold Coast dungeon. They suffered abuse, were starved, and beaten into compliance by the hired drivers of the slave merchant. They were often attacked by wild animals, but unable to fight or run because they were remained shackled and chained. Many lives were lost along this hazardous journey. On the way to the coastal dungeon, the slave merchants stopped at the Donkonsio or the Slave River in Assin Manso. Captured Africans were allowed to recuperate there after their long journey. Here, they were well fed and rested for several days or weeks. The merchants knew they could guarantee higher prices if they appeared healthy and strong. Donko Insio is where the captives would take their last bath in waters of their native land. The Portuguese began the inhumane practice of branding. They will use a red-hot branding iron to burn an identifying mark onto the skins of captives. The burn mark would leave a scar on the shoulder, the breast, or the upper arm to show ownership. Other times, branding was used to show that proper duty had been paid. When it was time to leave, they were sorted, leaving the weak ones behind chained trees. Where the unthinkable happened, the stronger captives continued walking for approximately 40 miles to Cape Coast Castle, still shackled and chained, until a set time where they will be shipped to the Americas. Assin Manso slave site exists today and can be found in the central region of Ghana. I hope you have learned something over the course of this presentation. We look forward to bringing you more interesting details and historic facts about Ghana in the coming days. Stay safe and see you soon.